Hello and welcome to episode 12 of Becoming Bob. I'm Alex, and in this episode I'll be painting along with episode 12 of The Joy of Painting with Bob Ross. The name of this painting is Snowfall, and I think you'll see why here in a little bit. It's another winter painting, of course, but this one has a much more dynamic sky and a lot of actual snowfall, and it's a real fun technique that I really enjoyed. You can see I'm only using 4 colors on this one. I've got my titanium white, my Prussian blue, Van Dyke brown, and some alizarin crimson there. I'm starting out with a mixture of the brown, blue, and white up in the sky there. A nice dark gray color. Really kind of working it around, trying to give it a lot of life, a lot of kind of varying tones and not just make a flat gray sky. Of course, my 18 by 24 inch canvas there is coated with a thin layer of liquid white. Of course, allows all these colors to mix together and really makes the entire painting style work. A little more of that gray mixture just coming in from the sides to put some water down in the bottom half of the painting, as usual. And just kind of blending that back and forth. Cleaning off my brush there, of course, get the devil out of it. And I'm switching out for my knife, and I'm just picking up some just straight up titanium white there on the knife, going up in the sky and just kind of dragging it across the sky to create some real streaky clouds. Just really show a lot of life up there, blowing them around, blowing in a real snowstorm. And switching back to my 2-inch brush, just beating off a little excess there, and just going through and bringing the wind up through those clouds, really pulling them across the sky there and blending them together so that they look a lot more like clouds. Trying to bring the wind in from all sorts of different angles there to really give them some life. Now I'm picking up some of the gray mixture and actually trying to make that a little darker, the gray mixture I had used in the sky there. And now I'm putting that kind of along the bottom sides of those white streaks to form some nice shadowy bits. And of course, since this is the sky, there's no uniformity to it. There's no wrong way to do it. I was just trying to aim kind of for the same side of the white streaks to kind of give it a little bit of a three-dimensional shape to the clouds. And just keep fluffing them up through there with some wind. Now I'm mixing some of the brown and blue with a little bit of the crimson there to make a purpley gray color, because of course everything in these winter paintings is more or less just some sort of a shade of gray. Of course, with that purple color, I'm making some Purple Mountain Majesty there. Just really trying to push the paint into the canvas and make a good clean crisp edge which do have my 2-inch brush there, and you can see I'm really destroying the edge along where I went with the knife there. You can really see I'm going outside of there, and it makes the mountains look a lot mistier, a lot less craggy and rocky. Since it's just a shadow layer, it's not as big of a deal, but still I think I could do a better job of that in the future. This particular painting is very forgiving for that, though. There's a lot of mist, a lot of snowfall, as you'll see here in a little bit, that kind of covers up a lot of the background flaws, if you want to call them that, which I don't really want to. Yeah, just adding the snow on the right side of the mountains and going in and adding a little blue into my white there to make a shadowy snow color to go in on the left side of the mountains. Really, once again, to give those mountains some shape and some three-dimensionality, and it also helps to create the layers of the mountains, to bring some mountains forward, push other mountains back. You know, the goal here I was just trying to avoid is just making pyramid-shaped mountains, triangle-shaped mountains. You know, mountains aren't regular shapes like that. And you can see a few times here my mountains kind of were heading in that direction. And I kind of caught myself, and you can see here just kind of trying to bring these faces around and give the mountain a little bit more character. Just tapping in there with the 2-inch brush to create some mist around the base of the mountains. I'm trying to, you know, just like with the clouds, give that some life and make it look like it's a really windy day. All wind blowing the snow around. Now with that same dark color, doing another layer of mountains a little closer here. You can see those two are really similar looking peaks. Go in here and try to add a little bit more. Make it so that they're not just 2 or 3 triangles the same height. Still, it all just takes practice. Try to pull those down now. And again, I did a little bit better job on those, but still I need to be a little bit more careful with that 2-inch brush to not destroy the outer edge of the mountains. Of course, with this layer of mountains, I have to put the snow, highlight snow and the shadow snow on the same sides of the faces, or else the whole painting would look a bit off. Just going back in with some of that shadow, really defining where those peaks are and the valleys in between. You can see that one. I'm just pulling that mountain more into the foreground and pushing that peak off to its left there, back into the back a little bit. Just kind of making it look like just a small little bump on the back of that other peak. I don't want it to disappear completely. Now, you'll have to forgive me. The camera on this from this angle was a new phone, and as you can see, I didn't have the camera settings figured out, and it just keeps focusing over and over again. So I do apologize. I'm sure that's very annoying to watch. See, I've got my fan brush there, and I'm mixing some white to lighten up that gray color that we used in the sky. Coming in right there in the kind of misty spot in front of the mountains and starting to put in some happy little trees. Of course, in this landscape, the only trees you're going to probably see at this time of year are your evergreens, so that's what the majority of trees in this painting are going to be. Although there's always a few other sticks and bushes and a few deciduous trees mixed in. Of course, with those trees, I just kind of start by making a vertical line for the upper part of the trunk, and then working with the corner of the fan brush, kind of go back and forth and kind of do a zigzag pattern, trying to make sure that I leave space in between the different boughs of the tree, so that it really, has a tree shape to it. And I think I've gotten pretty good, at least, at keeping the trees fairly narrow and not always so squat and Christmas tree looking. Got the knife back out there, and I'm laying in some snowbanks at the foot of those trees there, really putting in the lay of the land. And while I was doing this, I was really trying to focus on not going in too steep with that. On some of my other paintings, you can really see that I kind of came in too steep with, whether it's sand or snow or whatever, and it gives it a real unnatural kind of slope to the ground. That's been something I've been trying to focus on as well. Just got some brown there. Putting in some just exposed soil there along the bank of this pond or river or creek or whatever you want to envision it is. I always just kind of think of them as ponds most of the time, but there's no definitive edge, so it could definitely be a river. I'm just mixing up some more of that dark tree color there. Gonna go in and make some more trees. Of course, these trees are a little closer, so they're definitely going to be a little bit bigger. They'll have a little bit more detail. And also, for the color, you can see there it's a little bit darker. That's another trick that Bob uses to make things appear closer and more in the foreground. As he's making the layers closer, he uses a darker color. One thing he doesn't do during this particular painting is go back in and add snowy highlights to these trees. He does that in a lot of the other snow paintings, but in this one, I think, due to time constraints, you can only do so many techniques in each episode, and he really wanted to highlight the Snowfall technique that will be coming up here shortly. Of course, in theory, since each layer is darker coming forward, these trees show up in front of each other and really make a good deep grove of trees there, not just a flat kind of shield of trees. Now I've got some liquid white there, and I'm cutting in a water line along the edge of the bank. And picking up a little bit more of that Van Dyke brown to add a little bit more soil along the edge there. And again, with some more liquid white, just picking that up off I've got a tub of liquid white sitting down on the easel there, right under the painting, and so you'll see me go down and get that occasionally while I'm doing these paintings. Just adding in some more snow. And then that exposed dirt and earth there at the base of the bank, along the water's edge there. And of course that means we have to add a little bit of a reflection there. Not a lot, of course, because that water is frozen solid, but even ice has a little bit of a reflection. Because it's so snowy, I can get pretty liberal with that water line. There's always snow and ice build up along the edge of the water in the wintertime. That's what's really nice about this painting style, is it is really forgiving. At this point I'm 12 paintings into it, and everyone, I feel a lot more relaxed when I'm doing these. Once I actually start doing the painting, I get into it, I know that the little mistakes I'm making as I'm going along, or the things that I'm seeing as little mistakes, really aren't even going to be noticeable in the end. Once all the layers are on there and all the little pieces come together, it's going to look good. And that's that took me some time to kind of get the hang of, but that's what's great with this style of painting. Also, you can't expect to be producing masterpieces right away, and so that always helps to just kind of know your limitations. But still, I'm pretty happy with the results I've been getting. And of course, since this is the 12th painting, that means I have only one painting remaining here in Series 1 before I'll be completed. It's Final Reflections, and it's an episode that I think I'm going to try and paint along with at a slower speed. I think I'll slow the video down. One of the nice features on YouTube here, of course, if the paint, the rate of my painting is a little too slow for you, or if you for some reason want to slow this down, you can do that. There are some options there somewhere on your screen to change the playback speed. Usually anywhere from I think it's 25% up through 2 times, and that's really nice. I use that all the time on videos. But I think for Final Reflections, because it is the last one of the series finale, I want to have a little bit more time to work on the details and not rush going through it. And so I think slowing that down, watching it in 1 1/4 time or 1 1/2 time speed, or excuse me, half speed, or 3/4 speed, that is, will help me to spend a little bit more time and really make that 13th painting just a real culmination of what I learned here in the first series. Just going back in with my tree color, of course, putting in another nice tree trunk, and then going back in with the zigzags to flesh it out. Of course, can't just have one tree. Everybody needs a friend, and so we'll give that one a friend there. Oh, shoot, why not just do a few of them there? Let's make it a whole family. Of course, trees do have families, The trees in one area are usually descended from the same trees, and what they say, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, and that's true for, I think, a lot of varieties of trees. This one might be the big mama tree. Definitely a big one. Bigger than you usually make with the fan brush, but I kind of like that because that fan brush puts a lot more detail into the branches of the tree and makes it a lot easier to do finer branches and make it look a lot shaggier than you can if you're using the 1 or 2 inch brush. although the technique is more or less the same. Decided to leave a little bald patch in that one. And that's another great thing about these is, you can make them your own. Especially once you learn to relax while you're painting along and just know that it's going to turn out well. You can have a lot more fun with it. That's what I like to try and do. See, I'm cleaning the fan brush really well there because I'm going to be using it for pure white here in a minute. But first, I've got my script liner brush there, which I've dipped into some thin oil, which I keep next to my liquid white there on the easel. And then I ran that through some straight Van Dyke brown to make a real thin ink kind of consistency. And I'm just kind of going in, scratching in some sticks, some deciduous plants, of course, that have lost all their leaves. Just the random twigs and stuff you always see sticking out in nature, any time of year. And it's important, of course, when you're adding these in to consider the size of what those sticks are at the different layers. So when I'm putting a stick back there, for instance, it's a whole tree trunk that's sticking up. When I'm putting little sticks up front, those might be little reeds or dried out thistles or whatever. And of course, the same goes when you're using the knife to cut the sticks in. When you're doing stuff up close, it's small, detailed, little shrubs and bushes and grass and stuff. But once you get in the back, you're making whole tree trunks and, big branches and logs and stuff. And I am adding a little bit more detail to those tree trunks as well on my trees, giving a little bit more indication where those are, kind of making it look like they're showing through. I've got some snow packed up against them. And this is when I noticed there was a large 2-inch brush hair right there, right in the middle. Considered picking the brush back up. I figured that was the best way to do it. It's fine. See, I'm putting my palette down there. Got my knife, which I've cleaned off very well, and my fan brush. Now I've picked up pure liquid white, and I'm flicking, just flicking away there. I was not real sure how this was going to go, but as you can see, it's going pretty well. I'm enjoying myself. Yeah, this was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this part. I was being careful to try and not hit it with any big nasty goobers like the one you just saw fly by there, and definitely not smack it with the paintbrush, but kind of thinning it down there. I've got liquid white and I've got some paint thinner, odorless paint thinner that I had ready to mix it with it because I knew this was going to be happening. And that thinned it down some and allowed me to get a little bit smaller splotches on there, but you can see the snow. It's really starting to fall there. And, with snowfall, it's one of those things where consistency is key. You want to have a pretty good, consistent coating over the whole painting with these snowflakes. Of course, there's always going to be variation and bands of snow and everything blowing through, kind of like what's up in the sky there. But by having a lot of fairly evenly spaced snowflakes on there, no one or two snowflakes stand out. You can kind of tell that as you're watching this. I know I'm noticing as I'm watching this, some of the big globs that I thought I saw there when I first started doing this are really starting to blend in and just look like they're snowflakes that are closer up than some of the smaller ones off in the distance. It's really snowy, so of course I've got to add lots of snow. Didn't want to overdo it, but it's a paint along. I was kind of just sticking with it as long as Bob did it, and I think I ended up with a pretty good amount of snow that looks pretty good on there. Alright, but anyways, we're not done with the painting, because you can see on this side there's a big open space where, yeah, it's kind of the misty part of the bottom of the mountain. It doesn't look great. So we're going back in. We're putting in another tree. We're covering that up. There. Isn't that better? And of course, it looks out of place now because there's no sticks in there. There's no trunk on that one. All the details I've added to the other trees just aren't there. I got the stick out, or the knife out. Might as well cut a few things in there. And I've got mine picking up some Van Dyke Brown there. Just trying to get a little roll of it there. Pull it out thin on the palette, and then pick up a little roll of it on the knife. And just kind of putting in a little leafless tree there. Just sleeping and waiting for spring. Picking up a little bit of liquid white with that brown, and just kind of going back in to add some highlights, make it look a little snowy, like it's got some snow grapping on there. Add some 3 dimensions to the trunk, and of course that lets me put a lot more paint down on that trunk as well. Of course, a thin paint will always stick to a thick paint. And now to make sure that the tree I added on there, the evergreen on the right side and the other tree on the left side, blend in good. Just going back in to add some snow on top of those layers there. And get my script liner back out, put some oil on there and getting some crimson, which means I'm going to be signing my name now. So thank you for watching episode 12 of Becoming Bob, Snowfall. Like I said, I only have one more episode left in the series. It's taken me a lot longer to do this than I had ever thought it was going to. But I never stopped doing it, and I'm glad. I'm really happy with kind of how I've progressed on this, and this is something I think I'm gonna want to keep doing for a long time. So, thanks again for watching. Thanks to everybody who supported me. Have a great day.